Thank you, Isha. And yes, a very good morning to everyone here. Thank you for being with us once again on day 2 as such a active and participative audience. And Sanil sir, such a pleasure to be sitting with you on the stage this morning, bright and
Thank
early.
you so much. So
Yes?
I'm not a sir, I'm just Sanil.
All right.
Because I have not been given any sirhood from the Queen. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, actually, on that note, you've truly had such an illustrious career here in the energy sector, and yet so much humility. Before we get kick-started deeply into our conversation about powering India's green future and understanding the innovation, the technology, we'd love to just hear a few words about yourself, about your journey so far, and all the contributions that you've really made in this industry.
Thanks, Devina. And it's really a nice opportunity for me. Thanks to the ET Energy World for calling me over here. I started my career when coal was the king. Joined NTPC at that time, and we had, I think, 60,000 megawatts of installed capacity, mostly coal and hydel. And we had not even heard about renewables, or maybe the MNRE was also not set up. So we had only those small solar cells on our calculators, to which we knew that this is a solar cell. From that, I worked with gas turbine-based power plants, which was considered very green and clean at that point of time. At least not green, or it's really clean. From lot of emissions coming from the coal power plants, the gas turbine power plants offered near zero emissions, like 10-digit SOx and NOx emissions. So that was a game changer at that point of time. We had imported power plants even at that time. It was not made in India at that point of time. These gas turbines were imported. So we started at that time on those gas turbine plants. Then came the commercialization of the sector, where we started out with the availability-based tariffs. Those days it was only PLF. Now it's all declaration, scheduling, and the availability base. Every 15-minute time block, our life went into 15-minute time blocks for the day. Earlier it was counted in days. Now it's counted in 15-minute time blocks. Now, recently, you see the proliferation of all the renewable assets, which brought in its own problems. I say that it is 100% nuisance and 20% usefulness. Of course, we are, bound to expand into renewables, and that's a need of the hour, because we cannot simply live sustainably without that. So the government of India has taken a lot of steps in those directions, and we see today that we have almost 50% of the installed capacity of India as renewables, and that's a great achievement that the Indian government has brought in. So that's where we stand today, from those days where we were operating only on coal.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you for taking us on that journey. And absolutely, India has such strong energy goals by the year 2030. Can we get a bit of your perspective here? And of course, the energy transition we are going through is the absolute key that holds all of this together. Your perspective on where we actually stand today.
So, we have those targets of 2047, Viksit Bharat. We have also the net zero target of 2070, which are really, great steps to achieve. And during this period of transition, like Mr. Anil was telling earlier, we need all sources of energy. India is a growing country. We need coal, gas, as well as all other hydro and all other sources of energy. Today, we stand at around 220 gigawatts of energy in renewable space, which is almost 50% of installed capacity. However, in terms of energy, we are around 15%. And some states, like Karnataka, has got now more than 40% energy from renewable sources, which is a great achievement. And if you look at the projections that MNRE has been giving, India has got a potential of around 3,000 gigawatts of solar capacity available in India. Of course, to capture that, all of that together would be a Herculean task. I don't think it will be possible because of the land requirements. But a lot of initiatives that have been taken in the recent with respect to renewables, and to address to those variability, the storage tenders that have come up, this has been a real positive on the electricity network and electricity systems today here in India.
So as we move towards this posture of truly having reliable energy by 2030, and yes, we're looking at Viksit Bharat too, what would you say are some of the big trends that we really need to be aware of that are really shaping this transformation today?
So, renewable capacity additions also require a lot of investments. And if you see today, suppose we say we are around 2 lakh megawatts of coal and gas. To replace that, you need 5 times that, right? So you need 10 lakh megawatts to replace that. So that means and we are not able to achieve more than 20,000 megawatts in a year, whereas China has gone to 1 lakh megawatts in a year of solar capacity. We are still at, the last year was the best, I would say. So we are still expanding into the renewable world, and that comes along, it comes with the variability and also the problems associated with the inertia, the voltage problems, and many other things, which we need to address these in a technological way, which of course the CRC and the CEA has brought out with a lot of technical standards as well as with a lot of regulations coming in. These regulations and the policies have helped us a lot. As developers, we really are very happy that these have come up and enabling our businesses so that we are able to capitalize upon the new projects that are coming up. And we have been, as IndiGrid, we have been acquiring new assets which are up for, because we acquire operational assets, and we have been able to operate in a successful way all these new assets.
Would you agree then that grid modernization is really kind of the backbone to this entire transition we are going through? And again, if so, because we are talking about the trends and innovations that you are seeing, so what are the biggest and most noteworthy shifts we're seeing in the Indian context?
If you look at the Indian grid, it's one of the most complex grids in the world. I think we have the largest interconnected grid in the world. Earlier, in the 90s, we used to operate the grid as 5 different grids, which was interconnected and brought to one nation, one grid, and one price now also across the grids, one frequency. So this has been a great achievement. IndiGrid has been part of this transition. We have assets spread across everywhere in India, right from the northeast to Maharashtra to Kashmir. So we are proud of that we are able to be part of this journey. And with the new assets or the new transmission lines and the new the grid assets coming in, there is a lot of digitalization requirements. A lot of, if you look at the new trends that are being done, when you do the operation and maintenance of these assets, we are using special technologies for maintaining these lines. The AI is being deployed for managing the data. AI is used for capturing the data. The drones are used for capturing the data, and then AI is deployed on top of that to capture the analyze the data of maybe the vegetation of the transmission lines, the problems that are there on the transmission lines. Then whatever data we collect from the transformers or the other grid equipment, we use that data is used and it is analyzed, and then we try to do early warning on those equipment, so that these equipment, before they fail, we are able to understand what are the preventive or the predictive steps that are to be taken to maintain these assets in a the best possible manner and the best availabilities in the possible way.
Yes, and as you've just mentioned AI, for example, I think no conversation on the future of technology in any field can be spoken about without talking of AI. So beyond the grid, what are some of these big impactful steps, innovations, technologies that you're seeing? And of course, what role does IndiGrid play here in the overall landscape in India?
Yeah, so I think with the variability that we are seeing with the renewable sector, we have a daily variability. We have over the over the month, over the seasons variability, and over the years. If you look back in 2016, I would remember there was a huge dip in the generation from the wind sources. So to manage that is going to be the real challenge. And for that, the storage systems are very important. Today we have storage systems mainly of 2-hour storage or a 4-hour storage. But there's a lot of tenders coming up for maybe even 6-hour storage, round the clock supply of electricity from the renewable sources. Those tenders are coming up. These are surely the innovations that are helping us to modernize the grid and operate in the modern methodology with renewable sources having the prevalence compared with the coal-based power plants. Like having said that, we cannot abandon the coal-based power plants. Definitely, these will continue to operate in the next, at least in the next decade and maybe 3 or 4 decades. Apart from these, these the battery storage and these technological advances that have come in, we also have the market changes that are happening. Today, we have the marketplace for electricity. Almost, I think, 5 to 10% of the electricity is getting traded on the market. With the real-time operations, we have a real-time market, we have a day-ahead market, we have also the bilateral markets, and now we are talking of derivatives and other products also on the market. This means a lot of digitalization and automation is required compared with the earlier days, because again, a lot of data is coming. So this also needs a lot of artificial intelligence on top of that to predict. And again, when you're talking of renewables, we have also the weather data that becomes a big player. And we are not really good at predicting the weather in India. So we need to overcome that a lot. But to an extent, we have been successful. We have also solar power plants in IndiGrid. We do operate them with proper predictions for the day ahead or the week ahead markets.
So as you've mentioned till now, IndiGrid has assets across renewables, transmission, battery energy storage as well. What would you say, for someone in your position, again, a leader who's worked for so long in this industry, truly at the top of the industry at the moment, what are some of the big learnings that you've seen across these various sectors, across these various verticals that now IndiGrid spans across to?
So IndiGrid was set up as an InvIT. It's a infrastructure trust, investment trust. This was at that time when we set up the organization in 2016. It was one of the pioneering trusts in India, and InvITs help you in bringing on the investors even in small tranches, rather than big investments, big promoters coming in. This is spread across. We have a huge spread of investors. The largest investor is holding only 17%, and the others are all like 4%, 3%. So this InvIT structure gives you a sort of it's like sort of a mutual fund where the investments are spread across assets. So it brings in a lot of economies of scale when we bring these different projects onto one umbrella. We are able to achieve that economies of scale, reduce the costs, optimize them, and we own 3 verticals. One is the transmission lines and the substations. We have almost 9,000 kilometers of extra high voltage transmission lines spread across India. Then around 16 substations. After that, we have the solar business unit, which we have around 1,500 megawatts, mostly in Rajasthan and Gujarat, but again up to Tamil Nadu also. And now we are starting up with the battery storage projects. We have already commissioned a small battery storage project in Delhi. 4 more projects we have won those projects, which are in the different stages of construction. Now, the advantage that you have across a dispersed asset portfolio like that is that we are able to operate this in a centralized way. For example, we have a central control room, which we are using to operate all these substations remotely. That means we are able to reduce the manpower there. We get a visibility of all these assets. We are able to predict, like I said earlier, we are able to predict failures and take steps so that we are able to optimize these assets in a sustainable way. So IndiGrid has been, IndiGrid has an InvIT, and InvIT has got a limitation that we have to acquire operational assets where the revenues are already there in place. So we also created a sister concern, which is EnerGrid. IndiGrid owns 30%, 33%, and there are 2 other investors. The EnerGrid is participating in all the tariff bids, and once the EnerGrid constructs, those assets will be handed over to IndiGrid. So this is how, in tandem, we are working together to build these assets and be part of the growth story of India.
Absolutely, truly, and growth story it is that we are living through. So with just a few moments left on the clock, is there any key takeaway you'd like to leave our audience here with today? What is your vision for India's power sector moving forward up to 2032?
So if you look at the tendering processes that have been happening, you see a lot of issues with the solar tenders that came up. But if you compare that with the TBCB of the transmission, I would say that almost all the tenders that were done in the interstate TBCB have finally culminated in the tariff TSAs, that is tariff service agreements, transmission service agreements. Whereas in solar, we find that there was a lot of issues that came up later on, mostly because those the bids which were put in finally did not culminate into a power supply agreements. There are various reasons for that. One is, like in TBCB, we have already set the TSA which is already signed, an SPV is created, and then the bidding is done. Whereas in solar, it's not done in that manner. The aggregators like SECI does a tender, and then finally the SECI signs a PPA. Later on, the SECI is trying to find out the customers. That becomes a problem. Second, in this process, there's a delay, and the delay means there is also change in the pricing. So either the developer backs out because of a higher price, or the user, that is a DISCOM, is not able to sign a PPA because prices have fallen down. So the quick turnaround of these transmission service agreement or the PSAs would definitely help. Battery storage, I would say that we are late, but having said so, a lot of new tenders have come in. So that I hope that will help us in moving forward into harnessing all those. Today we are seeing a lot of curtailment. Our power plants in Rajasthan are getting curtailed every day. And you see in the exchange that the pricing has fallen down to zero during the daytime because of the proliferation of solar power plants. So to address those, the battery storage is absolutely necessary. Battery, or pumped storage also. Pumped storage, we have been, IndiGrid has not been working on that, but you can see a lot of pumped storage plants coming up. Like Maharashtra recently signed a supply agreement for a huge amount of pumped storage. But I would say in the interim, pumped storage takes time. Interim, battery storage would be a nice option to have. The prices have come down. Of course, that also brings in the, the requirement of a circular economy, because once these projects lives out their life, you need to have a program of decommissioning and using those, the scrap and all this material to put to use in the new projects. In fact, I listened to a conversation once where it's even good to buy the batteries today to take out those rare metals from that when those batteries get decommissioned, because at that time probably lithium and those special elements may not be available to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sanil. Unfortunately, we are up with the clock, but I do think the IndiGrid team will be around for some time.
Yeah.
So if there are questions, please do raise them off the stage. It's truly been a pleasure talking to you this morning, and you painted such a clear picture for us on what India's green future looks like in the coming years. So thank you for being here and sharing all your insights.
Thank you, Devina. Thank you so much.
Thank you.